everybody, it's Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world. Today is Tuesday, December 6th, and I am coming to you from Mexico. We are renting a house for the entire month of December, and I'm so excited. We are in Puerto Peñasco. It's a small, kind of touristy city. It's right on it's not on the ocean, it's on I think it's the Gulf of California, but it's right on the water, and it's about 4 hours south of Phoenix. So it's a popular like weekend destination in the summer for people who live in Arizona and in the surrounding area. So it's a tourist town, but it's the off season, so there aren't really many tourists here right now, and we are not staying in like the resort area. We're staying in the city center with like where the locals are. So it's we just got here Saturday. Yeah, we got here Saturday, so we've only been here a couple days. It's just been so wonderful already. Like I'm so happy. This is, I think, my first time that I'll be spending Christmas in a more, warmer tropical kind of location. But really excited. So anyway, I'm sure I'll film some vlogs and show you around the city and do a tour of our house, which is just like so cute. But yeah, that's what's new. We just thought we'd take a little break, and the trailer's great. We still love living in it, but we just thought, why not, for the holidays, just kind of like settle in one place for a little while. And since it's the off season and it's Mexico, it's really very affordable. So yeah, so that's what we're doing. And then in January, who knows where we are off to next. So I have been in the Christmas spirit. I am stitching Christmas ornaments. I've got a ton to show you. I've got a bunch kitted up. I'm very much feeling the holiday spirit. But even more exciting, I have a holiday release. So I really wanted to get this release out around Thanksgiving. I was shooting for actually Thanksgiving Day. But I had a little mishap with the laptop, and a full tumbler of coffee was spilled on the laptop. Partly my fault, partly Arlo's fault. Hi, baby. Speaking of Arlo, here he is. So I lost my laptop. So I lost my chart and all of that. So I had to get a new one, get it recharted. Luckily that wasn't too bad because it's a reproduction. So I was charting based. I didn't lose like an original design. It was a copy of someone else's design. So anyway, it delayed my release. But what I want to do with this release is actually a little bit of a stitch along, and that's why I really wanted to get it out on Thanksgiving, because I wanted to give everybody like plenty of time to get supplies and jump in, because this is, to me, like a holiday Christmassy kind of stitch along. However, it really can be at any time of year, but the color scheme lends itself to Christmas. So I didn't get it out quite when I wanted to, but there is still plenty of time to stitch this for Christmas, and actually it's stitching up much faster than I thought it would. So I might even finish it by Christmas. So here is the original textile that I'm basing my sampler on. So I don't know if you can tell, but this is not it is cross stitch, but it's not like a traditional sampler style cross stitch. This is stitched over 3 or over 4 on an even weave to create really quite large stitches, and the piece overall is very large. I think this was probably like a table covering or an altar cloth or like a decorative covering of some sort. And so you can see the red and the green immediately made me think of Christmas, and that is why I wanted to do this one for Christmas specifically. So I've got it all charted out. I'm gonna insert a picture because I haven't stitched it all myself yet. So this is kind of a mock-up of what the design will look like. It is not a completely faithful reproduction because the original stitcher made some errors here and there, but I think the intention was to be very symmetrical. So I did kind of correct some little mistakes, but it's mostly a pretty faithful reproduction. And so a few things about this design. So you can see there's no initials, there's no date. So I really don't know when this was stitched, but I did speak with Jacob at Modern Folk Embroidery, and I sent him some pictures and asked him if he had any like insight or advice for me, because I know that he is just a wealth of knowledge about samplers, textiles, all of that. And I thought if anyone might know, it's Jacob. And he did give me some good information and some good advice. He thought that this was probably stitched in the 1900s, but copying an older, like an embroidery or an older like family heirloom, that the motifs to him seemed antique, but that it was maybe stitched a little bit later. And the reason he really thought that was because of these cats. So there's cats down here and one up here. There's 3 cats on here. And he said he had never seen a cat in a cat like this in an older sampler. Yes, there are cats. You will see cats in older samplers, but he hadn't seen any with like a silhouette like this, which made him think that this was a newer stitch, that most of the motifs were copied from antique, a pattern, or actually like a textile in the family, but that the stitcher added these cats as like a more modern twist. So that's all I know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Was it stitched in 1900? Was it stitched in 1940? Was it stitched in 1960? Like, who knows? It's beautiful and I love it. So I'm stitching it. So this is how far I've gotten on mine. And this is on 40 count linen from Fox and Rabbit and the color Eureka. So I hope this is showing up true for you. I can't tell right now, but this is a pale goldish tinged neutral. It's not quite gold, but it's got that warm gold, like that warmth to it. It's a beautiful fabric. I've been kind of holding on to this, just waiting for the right design for this because I love this color so much, but just couldn't quite find the perfect thing for it. And then finally this design came along and I said that this is it. So this is how far I've gotten. I've started up in the left corner. And like I said, this is stitching up a lot faster than I thought. The original is so big. I thought, oh my goodness, like there's no way I can get this stitched up before Christmas. So that's where I came up with the idea of a stitch along, because I really wanted to do this pattern for this holiday. I didn't want to have to wait until next year. But I didn't think I could get a model done. So actually my friend Amy, I was talking to her about it and she said, why don't you just stitch it as a stitch along and let other people join in. So I just wanted to get like a little start on this so I could show people how the colors were looking, like how the motifs were looking. And I didn't even think I would get this far. I thought I would just maybe have like, 1 or 2 of these and maybe like 1 motif done, but it's actually stitching up so fast that I've got quite a chunk done already. So I do think I could stitch this before Christmas. But if not, it's still beautiful. It doesn't have to just be holiday or Christmas. It can be in any time of year sampler. I just thought it was so perfect for Christmas with those traditional green and red Christmas colors. But I'm so happy with how this is looking and how it's stitching up. And like I said, this is a 40 count, so I'm doing 1 strand over 2. And the colors I'm using are Classic Colorworks Mistletoe and Bandana. So the red is very close to the red on the original. The green is darker. The original is a little bit more of a lighter yellowy green, but I just thought these colors went really well together. And so I didn't try to match the green exactly. I just wanted a green and red that I thought complemented each other. And I'm so happy with how this is looking. I think it's so pretty and it's really fun to stitch. And it's just, I think it's just beautiful. So a little bit about this pattern. So I'm going to put the pattern up as soon as the video goes up. And you can go to my website, my Gumroad, which I'll link down below. And you can get the pattern. I'm gonna call it the Holiday Rooster Sampler. And here's just some information about the stitch along. If you want to jump on and stitch this with me, just a couple of things to know for getting it kitted up. It is 269 stitches wide by 211 stitches tall. That means that as long as you are stitching on 32 count or higher, so 32 count, 36, 40, or even higher, you can fit this sampler on a fat quarter. So you don't have to go get an enormous cut of fabric for it. If you are stitching on 28 count, it's probably going to be just a smidge too big for a fat quarter. You could stitch it on a fat quarter, you could absolutely do it, but on one side you might only have like an 1.5 inch border or an inch border, and you won't have that good, like 2-inch margin on your fabric. So you probably could fit it on a fat quarter, but you might not want to do that. But if you do a 32 count or higher, you can fit it comfortably on a fat quarter, which is nice because I think that's a cut of fabric that's a little easier to get, or that we tend to just kind of have in stash already. Now it does use a lot of floss because there are only 2 colors in the whole sampler. So with me stitching with 1 thread on 40 count, I have allotted 4 skeins of each color, and that's in the 5-yard skeins, right? So the overdyed, the Classic Colorworks, Gentle Arts, those kind of flosses usually come in 5-yard skeins. So with a 5-yard skein, I am going to have 4 of each color. I think honestly I might need just 3 and maybe just dip into the 4th a little bit, but just to play it safe for everybody, I'm gonna say 4. Now, if you have an 8-yard skein, or an 8-meter skein, I think DMC is an 8-meter skein. Color and Cotton floss, I think, comes as an 8-yard skein. So if you have something like that, I think you'll be able to do this design with just 3 of those instead of 4 if you're doing 1 strand on 40 count, or even 36 count. Now, if you are doing 2 strands over 2 on like 32 count or 28 count, you're going to need a significant amount of floss. And in that case, you might want to look at just doing like a DMC, because those are easier to go grab at the store. The information for all of that is going to be in the pattern, but I do have a good DMC conversion for these 2 colors. If you like the 2 colors I'm using, but maybe you don't want to try to track down 4 skeins of each of those, which I know sometimes it can be hard to come by, some of these flosses. So DMC conversion, we got 814 for the bandana, and I believe for mistletoe, I'm doing 3, I wrote it down, 3345. So 814, 3345 were really good matches for these colors. So you could certainly go to your local, Joann's or Michael's, and grab some skeins of those. So let me see, is there any, oh, I know, the most important thing I wanted to talk about with this sampler. There's an alternate version that's going to be included in the pattern. So on the original sampler, like I said, there are 3 cats. There are also 3 roosters, so 3 cats and 3 roosters. But when I had taken a picture of this and showed this to my friend Karen, Karen from Fox and Rabbit, and she thought these cats were whippets or greyhounds. Like she has both. She has, I think, 2 whippets and 1 Italian greyhound. And when she like glanced at the picture, she said, "Oh my gosh, it's got an Iggy on it, or a whippet." And I was like, "What? No, it doesn't." And then she's like, "Oh no, never mind, it's a cat." But it got me thinking. So I was like, it does. I can see why you initially thought that. And then I thought, let me just see about charting something else that you could plug in. So I'll insert a picture. But I did an alternate motif where if you don't want to do a cat, you could do a dog, and the silhouette is an Italian greyhound or a whippet. And that's just in honor of Karen. So that is included with the chart. And you could even mix and match. I think what I might do is, I think I'm going to do the 2 cats at the bottom. So I haven't gotten there yet, but I think I'm going to do the 2 cats at the bottom. And then I think I'm going to do the whippet as where that 3rd cat is over on the corner. So that's just a little something for fun. But I think the silhouette turned out really, really cute on that. So yeah, I think it looks great. This pattern, like I said, is only 2 colors. I felt like it was Christmassy. That's why I'm releasing it for Christmas. And I hope that some of you will be able to join in and stitch that with me for the holiday. But I know that it's a little bit of short notice, so I totally understand if people can't get it going for this holiday. But like I said, it can be an any time of year sampler, and it certainly doesn't have to just be stitched in December. And because it's only 2 colors, I think it really could lend itself well to having a little fun and doing like your favorite color combination or a meaningful color combination, if maybe like a sports team or something like that. I've done a few mock-ups just like playing around to see. I think another like popular Christmas combo is like a silver and a blue, and I think that looks really beautiful. I did one with just a brighter red, like a really bright, well, I think it's DMC 666, which is called Christmas Red. And I can't remember what the green was, but another DMC like Christmas green. And just like the same red and green, but brighter. And, just kind of playing around with like different colors and seeing, some didn't look so good, but some look pretty cool. So there are options there. All right, I'm sorry. I feel like I've been talking forever about this, and I'm really sorry if I have, or if I've been rambly. If you're interested in the Holiday Rooster Sampler, I will link that down below. You can go grab that, and please let me know if you're gonna be stitching that with me, because what I'm most excited about is that it's basically going to be a stitch along, which is always very, very fun and something that I always have a hard time resisting personally. So I will be posting progress pics of this on Instagram. My Instagram is Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World, just all one word. If you want to find me over there, and I will post updates as I keep working on that. Okay, so then in the middle of all that, that got me in the holiday spirit, and I started stitching ornaments like a mad person. So I don't even know where to start with all these. Okay, so a lot of these I've had kitted up for a couple years, and then like every Christmas I just I don't ever get to them. Like I mean to, and then I just don't get to them. And it's so funny because a lot of these really were one-day stitches, so it's kind of silly to think that I've just held on to them for so long. But anyway, the first one I stitched was Dasher, which is by Helen at East Coast. I always forget, is it East Coast Crafter? Because I think it's East Coast Crafter. And there's also someone that's East Coast Stitcher, but that's not Helen. So it's Helen D she's Helen D on Flosstube. I think she's East Coast Crafter. Anyway, this is Dasher. And this was in the December 2021 Just Cross Stitch magazine, not the ornament issue, the actual just like monthly December issue. But now it's free. You can get this from Helen for free. So if you go to her Instagram, she has a link to her webpage and you can grab this pattern from her. And it's just a freebie she has out there for you. So it's got all of the reindeer on it. And this is a 32 count fabric. It's one of the, it came in some kind, I can't remember what box, but it came in one of those stitchy boxes. And it's Jody from Steel City Stitchers did this. It's a 32 count and it's got sparkles in it. And of course you're not gonna be able to see them, but it's got like a super duper fine micro glitter on it. I know that sounds terrible, right? Like you're like, oh gosh, glitter everywhere, but it's so weird. I don't know what her process was or her method, but the glitter does not transfer. So I stitched this in hand. I was touching it like crazy and I would periodically just like stare at my hand just to see, and I was like, nope, no glitter. I think one time I saw like one piece of glitter on my finger. So I don't know what she did, but it's a super duper fine glitter, but it doesn't transfer. So anyway, I think it looks really cute on this fabric. You can probably see that I've totally played fabric chicken on this, a little more I think than I should have or meant to, especially down here at the selvage. I think I didn't take that into account, so my stitching is right up on it, and so I'm gonna have to finish that really tight, but that's okay. It's just an ornament. They're quick, fun stitches. Like I don't get too precious about stitching like that. So then I stitched from this year, from the magazine this year, the Just Cross Stitch Christmas Ornament issue 2022. There was a lot of good stuff in that issue. So that's not it. Let me see. Okay. So this page in particular, it was called Sweet Treats. Or this section had a lot of good stuff. I stitched a lot of these. So I stitched 3 of these, and honestly, I would stitch all of them. And if I have time, I might stitch all of them. But the first one I stitched was from Pixel Pixie Cross Stitch, and it's called It's All About the Sweets, and it's this one right here. So I stitched this on a 14 count Aida, and I got it from Michael's, and it's actually over dyed. So Michael's, I've noticed the last few I've been in have carried this Charles Craft or DMC Aida that has some fun color to it, which is so exciting to see stuff like that in the big box stores. So they have this one that's a light blue and green. They have one that's like an orange and a brown. And then they had like a purple blue. So this was the blue with a little bit of green. And this is my finish. I mostly did called for, but I changed a couple of things just for fun. Like on the gumdrops, instead of using just plain DMC, I used DMC Etoile. And those didn't all match up, but her original pattern was the rainbow colors. So I still did rainbow colors. And then I did the words all in Etoile as well. And then I think Santa, I darkened his skin a little bit. And then on the rat or the mouse, looks more like a rat than a mouse to me. I changed the tail and the paws. Like I think, I don't know. I just grabbed something from Stash. So it's still like this in the spirit of the original design. I just made a few little changes, nothing nothing dramatic. So there it is. That one turned out really cute. Then I stitched from Amanda May at Arctic Designs. I stitched this little reindeer. Oh, none of these have been fully finished yet. I've just been stitching away. Now that I'm in this house with this huge dining room table and I can like spread out, I'm gonna get all of these fully finished for Christmas. But I stitched this from Amanda May. This is the Oh Dear Gingerbread Cookie. And I think I'm gonna do a finish pretty similar to hers. I stitched, I didn't use the called for colors. I just grabbed some DMC that looked close. And this was a piece of 14 count Aida that I dyed myself in October using walnuts from my parents' backyard. So this is the Oh Dear Gingerbread Cookie. And then I stitched Michelle at Bendy Stitchy. I stitched her Marshmallow Sweet is what it's called. It's this cute little marshmallow design. And Michelle, I do know, I remember her talking about this design. She said she wanted to do something that wasn't like strictly Christmas or Hanukkah or like just strictly a specific holiday. She just wanted like a wintry, like seasonal design. So she did these cute little marshmallows. I did make just a couple changes on this. Where did it go? Oh, I changed some of the colors just because I felt like it, and I know Michelle doesn't care. So this is, look how little this is. So tiny. Look how teeny it is. This is 36 count baked clay from Fox and Rabbit. And it was just a little scrap I had left over. Okay, so on the marshmallows, I used the DMC conversion, but on the border, her border was like a dark purple. And I just had this rainbow floss out already and I thought it might work. And so I just used that and I think it came out so cute. And then I made like one change on the fire of the marshmallow, just to make it kind of match the border a little better. I did like a lighter orange instead of a really dark red, like a dark red orange. I just did a lighter orange. And I think it's adorable, but like, look how tiny this is. Oh, it's so teeny. It came out so cute though. And then from that same issue, like I said, it was a really good issue. So that was this year's 2022 Christmas ornament issue. I stitched, I'm gonna have to fold it so I don't show the pattern. From the Heart Needle Art by Wendy. She had a pattern called Love and Joy, and it was just a really small, quick stitch. So just a sweet little urn with a poinsettia, and it says Joy. And this is that same 36 count baked clay. So just another scrap that I had. And I just grabbed fabric from, or floss from Stash, and I didn't use the called for colors, but in the same spirit, you know, a red, a green, a gold, and a brown. Not done yet. I just kept going. From Abby at Top Knot Stitcher. So this was one that I've had kitted up for a couple of years, and I was just like, why haven't I stitched this? It's so silly. Like, just, it didn't even take very long. This is, my printout was in black and white, so I'm not even gonna show it. I used the called for floss, which is DMC Etoile. So these are all the colors she called for, and it's We Wish You a Merry Christmas. But this is on 28 count Picture This Plus. It might be Cyprium, I think, might be the color. And again, just the called for DMC Etoile. Of course, you're not gonna see the sparkle, but it's got a little sparkle to it. So it was a super, super quick stitch. And then I'm looking at my list so I don't miss any. Okay, and then this is from the ornament issue from 2020. So this was from 2 years ago. This was Pickle Barrel Designs Ho Ho Home. And I've always thought this was cute, and I had saved this 2 years ago before we ever even bought a camper or even thought we would have one. So I thought it was just a really cute design, but turns out it became applicable to my life. I did make some tweaks to this to make it look like our camper. So this is on 28 count picture this plus, or 32 count picture this plus, and the color Serene. It's like a pale minty blue-green. And so obviously I changed the 2020 to say 2022. I didn't use any of the called for colors. I just grabbed stuff from Stash that made sense to me. And I made, like I said, I made this to look like our camper, which is a pale green, minty green. And then I grabbed a random Krynic for all the snowflakes. So they're charted in just like white. You might not even be able to see them very well on there. And I had a Krynic in Stash, and it went from white to ice blue to like kind of a weird green tone. And I thought, well, it'll show up on the fabric because I wasn't sure the white would show up. So I used that. I'm happy with it. I think it looks cool. It's a little weird, but you know, like I said, I don't get too precious about Christmas ornaments. So, and then last but not least, Jen at Whistle Stop Stitcher released this in 2019, I think. It was a long time ago. This was just a freebie. It's still, you can still get this from her. It's just go to her profile. It's on her freebie page. And it's Sweater Weather. And this was her ode to the SNL sketch. It's Sweater Weather. And this is also on that 28 count Cyprium from Picture This Plus. And I don't even know if she gave us called for colors. I just grabbed the DMC Etoile that I had out from Stitching Abby's pattern, and I just used that. So mine's got a little sparkle to it. And that was a really, really fast stitch. So absolutely grab that if you want a really quick finish. So what I'm not done. I'm still just loving stitching Christmas ornaments, because you get these, it's so satisfying to get these finishes with, like, I mean, some of these have taken a minute, but you know, in 2 days or 3 days, you can have a finish. So from this year's issue of the Just Cross Stitch Christmas Ornament, I'm also stitching Top Knot Stitcher's Christmas Spirits. So this is what it looks like. And I am about halfway done with that one. So I think I might finish this tonight. It's coming out so cute. This is a piece of 32 count fabric, I think from Bestitch Me, in the color Gunmetal, and it's just a scrap of it that I had left. And I've got the right side done, and now I just need to do the other side. Really, really cute. Stitching up faster than I thought, because I thought these were pretty good size little ghosty snowmen, but they're stitching up pretty fast. And I'm just using random floss I pulled from Stash. I'm not using the call for on that. Okay, and then so once I finish that, I'm not done. I have more. Like, actually, shockingly, I've blown through most of them that I had kitted up, which I'm very impressed with myself. I have one more that I kitted up that I wanted to do. So I'm going to do from the, so this was originally in the Just Cross Stitch 2020 ornament issue 2 years ago. But you can get this directly from Amanda May at Ardith Design. This is on her website now. And this is called Whaley Love Winter. And I think when this issue came out, this was my favorite. Like, this was my favorite one in the issue. It's so cute. It's such a good design. She did such a great job with this one. I really love this one. And I've got this beautiful fabric. This is a 32 count Fox and Rabbit custom dye, I believe. So Bryn dyed this for Karen and I for a stitch along we wanted to do that we haven't started yet, but that's okay. And so she sent me a piece of this, and there was like plenty left over even after I had what I needed for the stitch along. And so I took this little scrap, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's like exactly the right color for this. the called for is Luminous Fiber Arts Indigo Linen. But yeah, I think this is gonna look so good. I'm really excited about that one. So that's my next one that's coming up. Not a whip yet, but it will be. And then I also had bought this Dimensions kit from Joann's, and it's Christmas jar ornaments, but it's on plastic canvas. And so I might get to these too. I hope I do get to these because these ornaments, I thought when I kitted all these up, I thought, oh, I'm not gonna get all these done by Christmas. And then here it is December 6th and I've got most of them done. So I think there's a good chance I can get one of these done too. Of course, these are full coverage, but I'm still gonna try. We're gonna see. You never know with full coverage like this. Sometimes it's like confetti and it's horrible and it takes forever. And then other times you're like, oh, that actually like stitched up pretty quick. That wasn't that bad. So we'll see. So that's what's next up on the Christmas ornaments. And then I had worked on a couple of things before I got all into the Christmas spirit. I had to get out my Mirabilia Cathedral Woods Goddess because she had been calling to me for a while. Like for a while now, I've been saying I wanted to work on her. And the last time I got to visit my cross stitch stash in my storage unit in Colorado, which was in October, I think, I made sure to grab her because I knew I wanted to work on her. And then Megan, Wide-Eyed Stitching Child, had gotten the urge to work on hers, and she went ahead and finished it. And so when she showed it on her video, I was like, okay, I'm definitely working on her. And also, Megan had changed her skin tone, and I had always planned to change her skin tone as well. I love my Nora Corbett's and my Mirabilias, but they all tend to be very, very pale white ladies. Usually their skin tone is, and this one is no exception, it's like DMC 948 and 754, just really, really pale. And so I had always intended to give her a darker skin tone, and Megan did the same thing, and hers was so beautiful. I said, can I just use yours? And then I don't have to figure it out myself. And she so kindly shared that with me. And I'm sure she would have no problem sharing that with like anyone who wants it. So you can message Megan, Wide-Eyed Stitching Child, or just message me and I'll send it on to you. She did such a great job with it. It's so pretty. So I got this out and I had so much fun stitching on this. I just could not stop. If I can remember, I'll insert a picture of where I was, just so you can see how much I got done. I could not put her down. I was just having so much fun with her. So I had started a center start and like had her bodice, or some of her dress done. So I came up and finished her bodice and did her head and all these beautiful floral vines. I didn't let myself finish her big headdress because, so I don't know if you can see on here, she has this huge antler headdress. And I felt like if I stitched that, and then all I had left was all this dress down here, that I might have trouble getting motivated to come back to her if I knew I was just doing like, I mean, not that it's not fun still to stitch a dress, but I just thought, oh, I don't want to stitch all the fun stuff and then have to just come do like the boring stuff. So I did her skin and her face just because I couldn't help it, because I wanted to see how the skin was going to look and it was looking so good. But then I stopped before I got to the headdress and I came back down and started working on the dress again. So that's where I ended up stopping. It was, like I said, just, I could not put her down. I love stitching Mirabilias. I've said that before, I think, but to me, Mirabilia is comfort stitching, and I don't know why, because they look complex and they look really fancy, but to me, they're pretty easy to stitch if you have a good chart system going in. and I'll let you know what mine is. But if you have your chart right, to me, they're really just comfort stitching, because what happens with the Mirabilia for me, at least the ones I've stitched, is you get good blocks of one color where you can really like get your rhythm and get a good like chunk of color done. But just when you're gonna get bored with it, you get to switch to another color. It's hard sometimes to do, you know, 10,000 stitches of one color, but with the Mirabilias, you switch before you get really bored, and then you can jump to another color, and then you can come back to the color. So like here in the dress, there's I think 4 colors or so in there, and you can just kind of get an outline and then fill it in and then go to another color. I don't know why, I find them really satisfying and fun to stitch. By the way, this is 28 count linen from Picture This Plus. What is the color? Oh good, I have the tag still. Oh no, it's 32 count. I thought it was 28. It really feels like a 28. Anyway, this is Picture This Plus Gossamer. It's a limey green. So my secret to Mirabilias, and you're not gonna be able to tell anything from this chart, I make a photocopy, because Mirabilias are these big fold out charts, which as you fold and fold, you get, you lose some of your markings on the fold lines. So the first thing I do is make a copy so I don't lose those symbols. And then I will, you know, cut and tape together where needed, because obviously the entire thing doesn't fit on a copy machine. But the important thing about Mirabilias is I highlight all the beads, and in this one, I highlighted all the Krynic as well, because then I'm not, my eye isn't constantly searching for like, especially with beads, you're kind of figuring out like, do I stitch that? Do I not stitch that? And when I see that yellow highlight for a bead, I know that means like that's an empty space. Just skip it, keep going. This one, I just did all the beads in yellow, and then I did the Krynic in blue and pink and orange. And then the green is where I'm marking off what I stitch. So just every section as I complete, I just highlight it just to help keep track. But generally what I'll do is I will actually highlight the beads in different colors. This was one of the first ones I did, and for some reason I just highlighted all the beads in yellow. It's not that big of a deal, but I actually will even try to do each type of bead a different color if I can. But yeah, that makes it so much easier to stitch these. So that was a tip I learned a long time ago from my friend Melissa. And it's, I will not stitch a Mirabilia without that now. So photocopy the chart, and then I will cut and paste to like assemble the chart again. And then highlight your beads. I don't always highlight the Krynic if there's not very much. This one had so much Krynic, that's why I did highlight that. But a lot of times she only uses a little bit of Krynic, so then I don't always highlight that. But always highlight the beads, absolutely essential. Just go through and just highlight them all. Okay, so then I worked on Dark Queen of the Earth Stitch Along from Autumn Lane Stitchery, and I was all caught up, but on December 1st, a new section came out. I haven't even started that, so she's not caught up now, but she was caught up in November. So this was parts 1, 2, and 3. And part 4 is really a big section. I mean, all of them are big sections, but part 4 is like down here, and I think it's like full coverage. It's a lot of stitching, but it looks awesome. I'm so happy with how she's looking. And I kind of love that they sent us down to like the really heavy stitching and like are letting us get that out of the way, but also have time to like catch up on that before we do the fun, you know, upper body and face and hair and all that stuff. This is a 28 count Monaco that I dyed myself. I was going for like a green and blue dark foresty look, and I'm really excited with how this came out, and I think she looks great. And I'm using all the called for DMC. So I don't know when I'm gonna get to the December section because I don't want to put it off because it's a really big section, but I'm also like having way too much fun with Christmas stitching right now. So I'm just not sure about that. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe I'll just feel like getting her out in a couple days and I'll start on it. My last work in progress is another Christmas stitch. This is Park Hopper Bart. It's a collaboration he did with Evertotes, and it's called Be Merry All. So I bought the PDF chart from Evertote, and you can also get fabric and floss and I think a project bag. There was different like combinations you could do. Because I don't have an address right now, I just bought the PDF, and then I just grabbed floss from my stash to match like as close as I could to what Bart had charted. So I've got a little start on this. It's actually stitching up really quick. I'm going to, of course, insert a picture of how the full chart's going to look. This is 32 count eucalyptus from Fox and Rabbit, which is so beautiful. I bought this fabric on a whim. I didn't have anything in mind. I just bought it because it was gorgeous and I just needed to have it. And I got it from Colorado Cross Stitcher, Sherry in Colorado. She has a Flosstube Colorado Cross Stitcher, an Instagram Colorado Cross Stitcher, and she has a cross stitch shop. And it's in Fort Collins, which is, I don't know, like 45 minutes north of Boulder. But we've been staying in that area a lot when we're back in Colorado. So I've gotten to go visit Sherry a couple of times. And I went actually when we were back in November, I think it was in November, I went to their Thursday night stitch night and it was wonderful. And it made me so sad because I just was like, well, I want to come every week. They have it, I think they have it every single Thursday. And I was like, well, I wish I lived here so I could come more because I had such a good time. So anyway, I bought this fabric from Sherry. This is 32 count eucalyptus from Fox and Rabbit. And these are just various flosses that I pull from stash. So this is stitching up really quick and I'm loving how it's looking. So that's all my stitching, but I have more stitchy stuff to show you. So first I just want to let everybody know that we have picked a date for our Beatrix Potter sampler stitch along. So a little backstory if you don't know, when I was in London in September, there was a Beatrix Potter exhibition at the Victoria and Albert Museum. And they had this Beatrix Potter sampler on display at the exhibition. So I actually got to see it in person, which is just so cool. It is really beautiful. It's really, really fine. It's a tiny, tiny count, like probably like 56 count or maybe smaller. It's teeny, 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 tiny. Immaculate, beautiful stitching. The sampler is in wonderful condition, really, really, really good condition. And it's stitched with like a brown floss. So Stitchy Box had bought the rights to this years ago, and you have always been able to get this chart. Well, not always, but for years now, you've been able to get this chart from Stitchy Box, and you can get a printed copy or a PDF. And I'd always wanted to stitch it, and it was just one of those things like, yeah, I want to stitch that, but like no firm plans. And then when I finally got to see it in person, I was like, okay, now's my sign. I want to stitch this. So a few people said they wanted to stitch it as well. So we're going to do a stitch along. I don't have a hashtag yet. It'll probably just be Beatrix Potter SAL. But we did settle on a date. So January 1st, this is my new year, new start. And I had already gotten the floss. I got a Floramel Gloriana silk floss. I got this from Kitten Stitcher, and it's the color Havana Brown. And what I liked about this was it's brown, but it's also got some blue notes to it. So I didn't want I wanted to kind of, the spirit of the original sampler is brown, but I didn't want just a brown. So I wanted something a little more interesting. So I picked this brown, which is a cooler brown, and it's got that blue, and I think it's really beautiful. And then I've got a 40 count piece of even weave. This is Verdal. And this is even weave that I walnut dyed. using walnuts from my parents' backyard. And so this is what I've settled on for my main floss and my fabric. Wait, let's see if that shows up a little better. So I'll be starting that on January 1st. If anyone wants to join in, absolutely please do so. You can go get the chart from Stitchy Box and you can get that immediately as a PDF download. If you prefer a paper printed chart, you can order that as well. And I got this little pin at the museum. So it's the V&A, Victoria and Albert Museum, and I got this little wood pin, and that'll be my needle minder. Or I might just, I'll probably just pin it on my fabric because I don't think I have my stuff to make needle minders here. So anyway, that'll be my little mascot while I'm stitching. So I wanted to let everybody know about that. And then the other thing I purchased was the Modern Folk Embroidery 2023 Stitch Along. It's called Reaching Skyward. When Jacob posted this on Instagram, I dropped everything and bought it immediately. I'm like obsessed with it. Jacob said this is his favorite design he's ever done, and I think I might agree. He's had so many good designs that it's definitely got to be one of my favorites. I would have to like go look through and decide if it's my favorite, but it's definitely it could be. It might be. It's so beautiful, and I'm just obsessed with this, and I'm so excited about the stitch along. So I bought that PDF immediately. I haven't picked fabric yet. I'm going to do that probably this week. He's going to release the pattern on December 27th, and it's going to be, you're going to actually get the entire pattern. But he still wants to do it as like a monthly stitch along, and I think he's still going to break down, like, you know, for January you should do this, and for February you should do this, and he still wants it to be a year-long stitch along. But I guess there's just too many options for customization that he felt like he needed to give you the whole pattern so that you could make the right choices for yourself. So I think it's really exciting that there's all these like choose your own adventure elements to it. But even just the way it is now is like so beautiful. There's a train going through if you hear that. So anyway, I can't wait for that. I'll probably go ahead and sneak that in as a start. Sometime he's gonna release it on December 27th, and I'll probably start it around then, just so that on January 1st I can do my Beatrix Potter. But I'm gonna really try hard to keep up with that as like a monthly stitch along, because that is why I finished Fruit of Plenty in 2020, or was it 2021? That was 2021. I would have never finished that, never, if I had not been committed to that stitch along. So it's gonna be a lot of stitching next year, but I know it's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be gorgeous. And then the last thing I purchased, this was an impulse purchase. I went into Barnes & Noble to get a Starbucks coffee, and they got me. they got me with the Cross Stitch magazine. I really try to avoid these, honestly, because I used to buy them all the time, and then I would never stitch anything out of them. And that's just, you know, that was on me. So sometimes I'll glance at them, and then I usually will not buy them unless something on the cover just really catches my eye. And this one really, it caught my eye with these little Stitcherovia patterns here. And then I wrote, like, the packaging had that it also included this calendar. And this is a 2023 calendar, but it includes these 6 animal patterns, and I just thought they were so cute. They're super confetti heavy. They're not going to be really fun to stitch, but look how cute these are. Look at this reindeer. So I was like, oh my God, like, look at this. Look at this. This was enough reason for me to buy it. That looks like a pain in the butt to stitch with all that confetti, but it's cute. Look at the little hedgie. And then cute little squirrel, and then the hummingbird. So I bought it because I knew I wanted that. And then there's actually some good stuff in here. What I really loved were these Stitchrovia Emma Congdon Hanukkah patterns. I think they're so pretty, and they are really small. Like, they should be really fast stitches. I don't know if I'm going to do all of them, but I am going to try to get to a couple of those this month. I love the colors. Like, they're so bright and colorful. And like I said, they're not big patterns. So I was really happy. I thought, you know what, it's worth it for just that. And then I found this little, they always have a couple pages of like these little bitty patterns, and usually like there's some cute ones, but I'm always like, what would I even do with those? But this one had some Christmassy things from like around the world, and they had some that I can make work for Mexico. And since I'm spending Christmas in Mexico, I thought, okay, so this is the pattern, but just, you know what, we're all adults here. If you want it, go buy the magazine. There's a little snowman with a sombrero. There's a sand snowman. There was something else. There was like a couple in here that fit like my location. So I'll probably try to, they should be super duper fast stitches too. So I'll try to get some of those. Oh, there was some maracas. Yeah, so I think that issue is going to end up being worth it. So, all right, that's all this stitching. Isn't that enough? Isn't that enough? Okay, stitching's done. Drop my pen. All right, I'm gonna talk about books. So if you don't wanna hear about books, you can just go now and you're not gonna miss anything because we're done talking about stitching. All right, let's talk about some books. I'm gonna go kind of quick because I'm getting antsy. All right, I read a couple books. I haven't read that many actually. I don't know if there's a good reason for that. I don't know. Usually I'm listening to a lot more audiobooks, but I've been doing other things. So anyway, whatever, I read enough. So first I read Unconventionally Yours by Annabeth Albert. This was on Kindle Unlimited. And this is a gay male romance, contemporary romance. And it was cute. The writing was fine. And the story was really cute and sweet. And it's been a while since I read this too. So it's leaving me a little bit. I think what was hard for me was like, it was just a little too nerdy for me. Like the premise was really dorky, which it was cute, but it was like a little bit hard for me to relate. So the two main characters play in it's sort of like a Magic the Gathering card game situation. It's obviously not Magic the Gathering, but like you can tell it's kind of based on something like that. So they go to like this comic book store. No, they go to this game store like a couple times a week, and they play in this club, and then they want to go to like this convention in Las Vegas and compete to be professional like Magic the Gathering players. I mean, that's basically what it was. So that it just was too much for me. Like the whole book was like, my dream is to win the tournament and become a professional. And I'm just like laughing, like how much money is in that for you? Like, I can't imagine, like you're playing on the pro circuit for Magic the Gathering. Like, I don't understand. And maybe that's just me. Maybe those people make $200,000 a year. Like, I don't know how that could be, but maybe. Anyway, so it was like, it was really dorky, but that's okay. Other than that, it was pretty cute. I got a little bored. It wasn't like bad, and the writing wasn't bad, but it just wasn't super swoony for me. So I think I gave it like 3 out of 5 stars, and like it was fine, but it was fine. Okay, but then I read a book that I loved. I absolutely loved. So I read The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. And this book, when it first came out, I was very intrigued, but I didn't ever pick it up for some reason, even though it was heavily promoted at Barnes & Noble. I remember it was like their book of the month, and you know, I think you could get it for like half price. And for some reason, I don't know, I think at the time I might have seen some mixed reviews, and so I wasn't sure if I wanted to pick it up. But recently I had seen a couple people talking about how they really loved this book. And so I went ahead and grabbed it. And of course now it's in paperback. I wish I'd gotten the hardback, the hardcover. But anyway, it is so beautiful. Such a beautiful book. So this is it's filed as a fantasy/epic, and I would agree. It's got a romance element to it, but it's an adult fantasy. This is her debut novel, and I just thought it was really great. So it's a like Eastern European inspired, I think actually heavily inspired by, I want to say like Hungary or Bulgaria. I think it talks about it at the end of the book. Anyway, in this world, there are some pagans who live through like their dangerous woods with like magic and creatures. And so there's this pagan settlement on the coast on the other side of the woods, and they're primarily left alone. But like once a year, people come from the other side of the woods, from like the big city, and they take a girl as like a tribute. And she is, you know, picked and taken from the village and never seen again. Nobody knows what happens to them. It's presumed that they die. And this is like, keeps a fragile peace between the two sides, because the people from the main city are like super religious, and the pagans are, you know, ungodly and heathens and all these things. So there's this faction that's pushing to just like wipe out the pagans entirely. And then this is like kind of the balance is like, no, we'll just take one of them as a sacrifice. So that's basically where the story starts. So the main character is chosen, and she travels with a woodsman. So the woodsman's escorting her back to the capital. And she, again, like they don't know what happens to the girls who are taken, but they assume it's nothing good. And so she's like, well, I guess I'm going to die. So it's about, you know, basically like their journey through the woods to the capital. But then a bigger plot happens where, you know, a revolution, like overthrow the big bad people in charge, basically. There's magic, there's like that Eastern European folklore. The characters aren't named specifically, but like I'm almost sure there's Baba Yaga, there's a Leshy, I think there's a Kikimora, and I'm pretty sure like there's what's the other one? Maybe that was it. But like there's these, they kind of encounter these creatures. So it was really, but it was just really good. I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of, the world building is really, really good, really detailed, and done like in a believable way. And there's a lot of information, but I felt like it was accessible. It didn't feel like the author was just like dumping like the history and the religion. I think she like worked it in naturally. And it was really interesting. I couldn't put it down. I really, really enjoyed it. And also you get like the enemies to lovers romance subplot, which was great. So I loved this book. It was really good. So then I reread, but on audiobook, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. So it was on sale on Audible at some point, so I grabbed it. And what I didn't realize when I grabbed the audiobook is that Donna Tartt herself narrates this audiobook. And I think that was a really weird choice. I was talking to my friend Andrea about it because she also was listening to this on audiobook, and we both were like, she's not a good narrator. Like who on her team let her do this? And maybe that's why the book was on sale. So I had originally read the book as like in print, and loved it. It's a it's the classic dark academia novel. So if you're not familiar with the plot of The Secret History, it's a historical fiction. Well, it's not historical. I guess it's just literary fiction. It's sort of historical. It's like set in the late 80s. But when it came out, it came out in the 90s, I think. So anyway, there's a group of students at a college on the East Coast. I don't know if it's Ivy League or it's, presumed to be, but they're at college, and there's a group of students who are studying Greek in the classics with this like eccentric professor, and they basically devolve into, they become so obsessive with their studies that they end up committing a murder. And then the book is about the fallout from that. So it's a classic dark academia novel. I really enjoyed it the first time I read it. I did really still enjoy it on reread, but again, Donna Tartt is a weird narrator. I don't love that choice. But I got over it. Like, it was, I could listen to it. She has an odd voice. She does accents very oddly. And I just don't think it was maybe the right choice to have her read her own book. But other than that, I love the story and I love the book. So then I read Too Hot to Handle by Tessa Bailey. So I have really enjoyed Tessa Bailey's books lately. And I just wanted to work through like some of her older books that I hadn't read yet. And this is one of those that you just like, I never hear about. And maybe there's a reason for that because I don't think it did that well for her. It had all like so it's contemporary romance. It had all the Tessa Bailey like signature things, like, some pretty witty banter and the dirty talk in the bedroom and the spicy level and all that. Like it felt like a Tessa Bailey book, but it just left something to be desired. And when I was reading through reviews on Goodreads, like people were definitely articulating the same thing. Like people were like, it just didn't work. Like for some reason, it just didn't work. But by reading, sometimes when I don't know how I feel about a book, I go read the reviews to see if like I can get some clarity. And I was like, it was just kind of for me, like just something wasn't clicking, but I couldn't figure out I couldn't say one thing that was like bad about it. And then when I read the reviews, people were like, yeah, it was this. But I was like, yeah. So, it features, it's a family who sets off on a road trip to like honor their dead mother's like last wish. And they break down in like a small town in New Mexico, and they have to stay at a motel. And, then, the main character meets this guy and they fall in love, right? And I think what wasn't working about it was that you never got to really get to know either character in like a satisfactory way. So like, especially the male love interest, it was just like, it could have been a piece of cardboard. Like there was nothing to him. And the female protagonist, like not a lot going on there either. And then they have this insta love, like Tessa Bailey always has that instant attraction thing, which I think is fine. And I think sometimes you just have to have that in a romance novel to move the plot. But they had the instant attraction, but then they like literally within 2, maybe 3 days, like were in love. And so it was just a little too much. It was a little weird. So I didn't love it. And there's 4 books in this series because it's a family of 4. And I actually quite enjoyed the part that worked for me, that I really liked about the book, was the 4 siblings interacting. So I'm almost like tempted to keep going to see what becomes of the other siblings. But like nobody talks about this series. I never hear anybody talking about it. So I think maybe it's just overall kind of just one of those like series. And my library had Too Hot to Handle, but they don't have the other 3. And I'm not going to pay for them. So I might not ever finish that series, and that's okay. I'm going to be okay with that. So then I finished my Twilight reread. So this is just pure nostalgia. Just, Twilight had this resurgence in the last year or 2, like during the pandemic. They started streaming on Netflix. They're not on Netflix now, but they were. And this new like generation was finding them. and I just like revisited that. And so I've been rereading them as audiobook through the library. They're not great books. They still have all the same problems they had back then, but even worse now in some ways. Like there's certain things that are like, ooh, no. But I'm not going to go into the plot of Twilight. Like if you don't know, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just rereading them. They're still not good. They're not good, but they are addictive. Like they're not well written. Everything is toxic and wrong. But what I will say for Stephenie Meyer is that she can move a plot. Like her books are hard to put down. I love to hate them. So I did that. And then I was rereading another series that I actually did love. And so I am rereading, I just reread, Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater, which is a continuation of the Raven Boys cycle, which was a young adult series that came out like 10 or 15 years ago. It's been a long time now. So she took one of those characters and continued his story with a trilogy. So there was Call Down the Hawk, which I had read, and then Mr. Impossible, which I had read. So I was rereading those in preparation for the third book, Grey Warren, which just came out. So I haven't read that yet. But this time I did my reread on audiobook from the library because I own them in hardcover and read them that way. But I wanted to, for reread, I really like audio. So I got the audiobook for the second book, Mr. Impossible. It's the same narrator, and he's so great for this series. His voice is, he's got a very unique, interesting voice, but it totally works for this story. And so I still loved it. I loved my reread. I'm not going to go into much more than that. I've talked about it before. But I really love the Raven Boys cycle. It's 4 books, young adult. Love that. One of my all-time favorite series. And then this new trilogy is a lot different in tone and maturity. And it's like more of like a new adult instead of a young adult. But it's still really, really good. Maggie Stiefvater is such a great writer. The last thing I read is a book from Audible Plus. So Audible is a monthly subscription service for audiobooks, and you get a credit every month where you can pick whatever audiobook you want. But then they also have something called Audible Plus, which is just a catalog of stuff that you can have for free with your subscription. At any time. So I'm always kind of checking to see what's going on Audible Plus. And last Christmas I read a book called Nick and Noel's something playlist, Christmas playlist, something like that. And it was by an author, Cody Hall, and I really enjoyed it. It was a cute, like steamy contemporary romance. And so there's more books in this series, so I decided to pick up the second book, which is called There's Something About Mary, and Mary is Nick's sister from the first book. And this didn't really work for me. I really liked the first one. This one just wasn't it. I was bored. I was just like, please, is it over yet? It was weird. The writing was fine. The characters were cute, like they were well fleshed out characters. I didn't really care, and the stakes were very low. There was not enough conflict, and I was bored. They didn't hook up until like much later in the book, and then it went from like 0 to 100. The reviews for this book are hilarious because people are like, this is filthy. Because it was like so wholesome and cute. It felt like a Hallmark movie for like 70% of the book. And then all of a sudden they're like banging in the shed. And you're just like, wow, well that escalated like quickly. That's interesting. So I was laughing at the review. If you want a good chuckle, like go look at the reviews on Audible. Because people are like, this is trash. This is filth. And I'm like, well, that's what I wanted much earlier in the book. Why did it take us till 70-80% to get to the trash? So, That's just me. But anyway, it was just, I wasn't loving it. And now I don't know, there's a third book and now I'm like, I don't know if I want to, I'll probably check it out.
Editing Julie here to report that I will absolutely be checking out the third book because I just realized it's basically a Luke and Lorelai from Gilmore Girls retelling, where it's like the quirky younger sister who's Lorelai, but then it's the grumpy hardware store owner next door, which is totally going to be Luke. So yeah, I'm absolutely going to be reading that or listening to that on Audible for sure.
But we'll see about that third book because the first one I really liked. Second one, could not care less. So if anyone's read that series, let me know if the third book's better. All right, that's it. That's all the books. I think this is long enough. I feel like I've been talking forever. Oh my God. All right, I'm gonna go. If you made it this far, like always, thank you. You're awesome. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.